Jean. I just seeing your smiling face now. Nice to see you. Jean and Bruce are in Duluth.
Cool. Okay, can everyone see that? Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Out of the head, beautiful. Okay. So again, thank you, Nancy, for getting your friends and followers out on a on a weeknight, and we take a virtual journey. Let's hope that a year from now, I'm very hopeful that a year from now, we will be sailing the Christmas markets. We're hoping that the good news about Pfizer and now Moderna will continue, and things will, gradually, eventually get back to the way they were, and we'll be sailing again. We do anticipate we'll be sailing again in Europe by late spring, early June at the latest. But let's keep thoughts and prayers going there. So this is brought to you by Nancy and Nancy's travel company, Adventure Marketplace. I'm Steve Bajaka. I work for the river cruise company, Amo Waterways, one of the top-rated river cruise companies in North America. And you know a Rolls Royce.
Yes.
Okay, Rolls Royce is being admitted. So Christmas markets as a theme, okay? This is a picture of Dresden. Supposedly Dresden has the oldest Christmas market in Germany, dating back to the 14th century. Although I was doing a presentation last week with a client who's from Germany, and she disputed this. So I don't really know. I think every market in Germany claims to be the first Christmas market. So I don't want to say definitively that Dresden is the oldest Christmas market in Germany. And beyond that, other Christmas markets go back to like the 12th century. So this is obviously a tradition that goes back centuries, and it really is born in the concept of just sharing what you cook, sharing what you're drinking, exchange of gifts in the marketplace, and it's evolved into what it looks like today. You have you're traveling to a part of Europe, the old country, as my grandmother used to call it, and seeing how they celebrate Christmas in the old country. It's more about the festival of Christmas. This is not a religious, theme cruise by any means. This is more about the holiday cheer and the festival, and how the cuisine changes for the holiday, just like it does here. Do you know a Pat Payne, Nancy?
I do know Pat Payne.
Okay, Pat Payne's coming in. And
we just really got started, so
yeah, and people that came in, if you wouldn't mind just muting yourself, that would be wonderful. We'll unmute you at the end of the presentation. So I love this photograph. This is a classic photograph of what we mean when we say Christmas market. It's usually in the center of the town or city. Larger cities have multiple Christmas markets, but in this case, you see, these are the government buildings in the center of the town, and they fill up the marketplace. There's a Ferris wheel there. There's Christmas trees here. There's ornaments everywhere, and the vendors take these stalls, and they bring a lot of their wares outside, and they sell gifts and trinkets. And there's food being cooked. There's drinks being sold, and there's live music, and it's a big party, and it's every day and every evening for like 3 or 4 weeks, in some cases longer. Traditionally, the Christmas markets, they vary by town and city, but they open after our Thanksgiving, and they close. Some of them close after Christmas. If the community is Catholic, or the city is Catholic, they might go all the way to Little Christmas, the first week of January. So it depends on where you are and which river you're on. And for us at Amo Waterways, who is that? Nancy, do you recognize who that is? Nancy and I like to put we like to pepper our presentations with, personal photographs of mostly of Nancy and her family and her clients and so on. So just to make it more authentic presentation. But for us at Amo Waterways, this is what happens during the Christmas markets. Is you see our guest profile tends to change. It's more families. It's more generational travel. You'll see uh, parents with adult children and grandparents, 3 generations of a family traveling together at this time of year. The cruises are greatly discounted because it is the end of the season. The airfare is greatly discounted. There's a lot of great offers out there because we're trying to get people on the ships at this time of year. But this is typical of what you'd see. And here, this is a photograph of one of our owners, the woman with the glass of white wine there in the middle. That's our senior vice president and co-owner. That's Christine Karst. She's from Dresden originally. She's in California now, but that's her mom next to her. That's her adult daughter. And then to her left, on the right, is her son. So this is typical of what you'd see for that period of time, where people usually between our Thanksgiving and Christmas, the sweet spot of the Christmas markets for Americans traveling is usually the first or second week of December. Um, let's see, 1 second here. And I've got an outlier somewhere, but that's not muted. I can't tell. Again, if everybody can mute, that'd be great. And then these are typical photographs of what you see on the ship. Lower left there looks like somebody, I see 2 sisters, I think. Is that
Yes,
with
we
Santa?
were elves.
You were elves? Okay. You're
We
in
were
the work-
Santa's helpers, helping
you're in the
Santa
workshop
get.
there? Okay. But just to give you an idea, the entire ship, it takes our cruise, and we've got several ships doing these sailings, more than several, probably a dozen. Decorate the whole ship. Takes them a day to decorate. Takes them an entire day at the end of the season to take the decorations down. But this is typical of what you'll see. And our crew will dress up for Christmas like Nancy is now, and they carol. They sing carols for our clients, and they play traditional games with everybody. I think it's the 5th or 6th day of Christmas on the Advent calendar that there's a tradition in Europe where if you put a shoe outside your door, you get Saint Nicholas leaves a treat or a gift there, and we actually do that on the ship. If you want, you can leave one of your shoes outside your stateroom, and when you get up in the morning, you'll find a gift there from us. So everybody gets involved. There's a lot of singing on the ship. There's a lot of music. There's a lot of glühwein, the warm wine, to keep you warm in the afternoons when you get back from your excursions. So it's just a great experience. I've done this many times. I've done it with my wife. Usually I'm doing it with colleagues at the end of the season. But just a really nice time of year to be in these parts of Europe. And then, traditionally what we do is we include all of the meals on the ship, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks anytime you like. There's tapas between meals. But at this time of year, we're serving more of the Christmas traditional things that are indigenous to where we're sailing. So the top left there, you've got the traditional German goose dinner. Okay. In the middle there on the top is Stollen. Stollen is this wonderful fruit and dried nut bread. It's not quite a pastry. It's kind of a sweet bread with confectionery sugar on top. It's really good. It is not a diet food. I will warn you there. But it's really good. And then the top right is the famous or infamous Glühwein. Glühwein is a mulled wine with red wine and brandy and lots of cinnamon and berries and orange, and it's really good. They heat it up. They don't boil. They don't bring it to a boil. They heat it up and they serve it on cold days. And we serve it on the ship a lot. The center, bottom is some of the ingredients you'll find in Glühwein. The lower left is one of my favorites. This is decadent. It should be illegal. It's a German Black Forest cake, and it's like a 5-layer chocolate sponge cake with whipped cream, and it's stuffed with cherries. Oh my God, it's so good. Again, not a diet food, but this just wonderful stuff. And then the lower right photograph is typical of what you'd see at a local pub, or even at the Christmas markets. You'll see a lot of people grilling meats. Grilled German meats usually is pork and beef. There's some chicken, but it's usually sauerbraten or bratwurst rather, or they cut pork chops and they grill those as well. So really, when I go to the markets, you get flooded with just these wonderful smells, and I just kind of follow the smells. And you know, my wife might be off doing some shopping, picking up some ornaments or doing this or that, and I'm always with like a big sausage in one hand and a mug of beer in the other hand. That's kind of where my happy place is at one of these Christmas markets.
Hey,
Um,
Steve, we're gonna do a toast, or
um,
is that later on?
I have my water. I didn't pour my wine tonight.
I have my holiday cheer.
Okay, good job. This is my second one. I did one in the afternoon, and I already had a glass of wine. So I'm to present. I'm at my limit. So we can absolutely toast. You want to toast right now?
Sure, does anybody else have a beverage? All right, well, here's the holiday cheer.
Cheers, everybody.
And I believe my father is in the, yes, that's my father, John Dorrance.
Is that your dad that just lifted a glass of red wine? Cheers.
That's him, that's him.
Cheers,
He
cheers.
may be able to serenade us later if he's up for
Okay.
it.
Okay, cool.
Christmas Carol.
Okay. So again, so for folks that have not been on a river cruise, the experience, we won't get that far into the product, but just want to show you what one of the ships look like. These are very modern ships. Our fleet is very new. This pictured here is the Amalea, and it's just 2 years old, built in 2018. Holds 156 passengers. Most of the staterooms, not all the staterooms, most of the staterooms have twin balconies. 2 restaurants on board. There's a main lounge with a bar. There's a fitness room. There's a sauna. There's a spa. There's actually a heated pool on deck. I've seen people in the pool and jacuzzi in December. And holds a crew of 55 crew to 156 passengers. So this is what's taking you up or down the rivers. This is your floating luxury hotel, and all of your meals are sourced locally. So you'll actually see every day all of the local produce and ingredients be brought on board, and that's what's going to be like for lunch and dinner that day. Everything's sourced locally. Nothing is ever frozen, and it's all local cuisine. So now let's look at the actual itineraries. Let's look at the Danube River first. On the Danube River, a Danube River cruise usually refers to an upper Danube River cruise. We also do the lower Danube, but on the Christmas markets, we would start in the city of Budapest, and we would sail up to usually Nuremberg, okay? So let's take a look at that. There's the capital city, Budapest of Hungary. Each side of the river is actually technically a different city, Buda and Pest, thus they call it Budapest. A great walking city. Every day included in your itinerary, you have the choice of a walking tour, a hike, or a bike ride. We carry 26 touring bicycles on the ship. These are all guided, and these are all included in the pricing. So you have the opportunity every day to choose what you want to do. And each of these choices, then after the guided portion, it's a historical, and you're looking at architecture, and you're looking at castles and doing tastings off the ship. You're doing maybe a wine tasting or a cuisine tasting, and you'd end up in the afternoons and again in the evenings if you want, because you can get on and off the ship as many times as you like. You end up at the Christmas markets. Budapest is a lovely city. Where we dock the ships, there's very little vehicular traffic. So we dock the ship in the old part of the city. We're taking walking tours, 5 or 10 minutes. You're in the center of the city. It's just a wonderful experience. There's several Christmas markets in Budapest. Our tours go to 2 different Christmas markets here. But if there's something else you want to do, again, we encourage you. You know how long the ship is going to be in port for. We won't leave without you. And you can go back into the town or city as many times as you like. This is the capital city of Austria. This is Vienna. A wonderful city. We spend the entire day and evening in Vienna. There's so many things to do here. Known for classical music, of course. I did take in an opera here one night with my wife. This we did on our own. This was Mozart, and it was at one of the old opera houses. It was fantastic. But the day sightseeing is there's 3 or 4 different itineraries. You can do a hike. You can visit Schönbrunn Palace. You can visit Mozart's birthplace. There's a lot of different things you can choose to do in Vienna. There's so many different things to do here. But this photograph, this image here, shows one of the main Christmas markets. And again, it's a nice photo in that it sort of shows what the feel of a Christmas market is. And when you go to the Christmas market, we don't need to guide you there. We just, we bring you there, and then you can do whatever you like. And you can see the stalls here. These are big stalls here. I think to the left there, that stall looks to me like it has a lot of fresh breads and cheeses and things like that, things that look and smell and taste good. And then the other stall to the right has different kinds of products. Maybe they're fond of putting out handmade Christmas ornaments and things like that. There's a lot of different traditional ornaments that you can buy, things to put on your tree, little figurines, the nutcrackers. There's so many different things that you can buy that would be, they're from Austria or Germany or wherever we happen to be. For us, when I travel with my wife, we are big fans of bringing home small handmade Christmas ornaments. They're easy to pack and get home safely and things like that. And they're not expensive and they're handmade. So we joke with our kids that are now grown now, my son's in his 30s, that the things that my children made when they were in school that you used to put on your Christmas tree because they were in 2nd grade or 3rd grade and they made something, they brought it home out of popsicle sticks or something like that. Those things are all now on the back of our tree that just facing the wall. And all the really nice handmade ornaments that we bring back from Austria and Germany, they're on the front of our tree where everyone can see them. So that's the joke that my wife and I make when the kids come home. But this is.
Hey, I have a question coming in. One is about the temperatures. I guess it varies depending on where you are during November and December. And also, you mentioned the bicycles. And do you also provide helmets?
Yes, you have to abide by the riding laws of the country that we're in. We do give like a 15-minute lesson in the rules of the road, so to speak. And on the biking tours, you have actually 2 guides with you, one in the front of you, the lead person, and one in the back of the pack, in case anybody drops out or something like that. But yes, it's all done to the same safety standards that are in that particular city or state. And with regard to the weather, well, I'm in New England right now. We're about to get a blizzard, right? So we're all going to get this blizzard, I think. Well, maybe not so much up in Maine, but we're going to get wallops here down in Massachusetts. So usually the temperature here along the rivers is much more temperate than what we're used to here in New England. You will see some snow. It does snow from time to time. By the river, it does not tend to stick. I'll show you a slide in a few minutes where we go up into Salzburg, into the foothills of the Alps. Obviously, there's snow up there, but we're in a motor coach then. Most of the time when I'm here in late November or December, it's in the 30s, mid 30s to low 40s. And to me personally, that is balmy weather compared to what we're used to, right? So, usually I'm just going with a bomber jacket and a pair of gloves and maybe a scarf. I do remember though, a winter like 2 winters ago where it was at night in like the 20s and maybe into the teens. But this is not typical of where we're traveling unless you go up into the hills or the mountains. Does that make sense? Okay. Now here, we wanted to share one of your guests tonight shared some of her own photos of Vienna, and we thought that would be neat to just put in somebody's own photos of Vienna at night during Christmas markets here. I can't tell exactly. And whose were these? These were Anne's.
Anne Manganiello.
Thank you, Anne, for contributing to the presentation. We appreciate that. And Vienna is a very large city, so I can't tell exactly where you are, but these are lovely photos. And these are nice as well. I like the one to the right here with the tree that's just covered in lights, and to the right there you can see a Ferris wheel. So I sort of have an idea of where I think that is in Vienna, but I couldn't be sure. And then to the left it looks like you've got a nice restaurant or bistro that's it's all done up for Christmas. So that, I mean, that's typical of what you'll see when you're walking around in the evenings. So thank you again, Anne, for sharing with us. Then Salzburg. Salzburg is, you know, you're up towards the Alps there. You know, the hills are alive with the Sound of Music. This is where the Sound of Music was filmed, and this is what it's still known for by Americans anyway. And the lovely, I know exactly where this is. I've been to Salzburg many times, and in season, this town square here is bustling with foot traffic and tourists and locals, and it's a great area. And now you can see that they've put up their own tree, and you've got some beautiful stalls and some lights, and fills it up really nicely. But you know, to go back to what we said about weather, as you're driving up, obviously, as you're driving and the elevation is going up, then your weather's going to change. You dress a little more accordingly for that.
Another thing, Steve, we have another imposter, actually, another agent who signed in under my link, so you might recognize her.
Is it somebody that we know? I mean, are they here illegally, or they're okay to be here? What are you
telling? No, I invited her, but she didn't have the link, so I gave her mine, and so now she's under my name, but you'll recognize her.
Okay, that's fine. Well, tell me later. Okay.
Diane.
Diane Bean. That would have been my guess. Is it Diane Bean? Hi, Diane. And Diane and I've done a couple of these already, so this is great. So, and I think we did a Christmas market one too. So, this is Passau, Germany. This is a beautiful, large town, small city. This is called the City of Three Rivers. Two smaller rivers would feed into the Danube here, and this is one of my favorite. I mean, the highlight of your options on this day, do the walking tour here, because the walking tour along the river is just spectacular. So I'm a big fan of Passau. A lot of things to do here. Again, you have choices every day, you know, so whatever you like to do is fine. But I'm fond of the walking tour in Passau. Regensburg is a beautiful small town that behind the Christmas market there is their local castle. So that it's really neat that and you can see it's a much smaller town now, very medieval town. And so the market here is very small, but it's quaint. The people are very friendly. I'm a big fan of this as far as Christmas markets go. This is one of my favorite Christmas markets, and Regensburg has the walking tour of Regensburg is just chock full of history and the wonderful architecture and the great tastes and smells of the local fare. And this is a really nice visit here. And now we're going to give you a couple of AMA Insider tips. When you travel like this, when you're on a river ship and you're traveling and you're going to these little markets, it is important to carry some cash. Normally, we would say you take care of everything with a credit card or something, or a bank card or what have you. But in this case, you're visiting stalls. You're not buying things that are very expensive. If you're getting a hot dog and a beer, you're getting a glass of Glühwein, you know, what are you talking about? A couple of euros. So it's good to have, and most of these countries take euros, right? So you're good to have euros. So it's good to bring euros in small bills, small denominations. And then we talked about some of the handcrafted gifts you can buy, the little German nutcrackers and the little prune people, which is a tradition of kind of like dried prunes on little stick figures. And it's become it's like a cottage industry of these little prune people, and they're all dressed differently, and people collect them over there. So a lot of different things you can buy and get into. And the people actually collect the mugs that you buy the Glühwein in for like $1 deposit or €1 deposit. You can keep the mug because the mug will say which Christmas market you were in and what year it is. So a lot of people collect those, both in Germany and here in the States. I have a colleague of, of German descent, and she's got like 30 of these. She's been to like 12 Christmas market cruises. She's like 30 of these Glühwein mugs that say the different markets on them. I guess it's like collecting baseball caps from different teams if you travel around to all the different stadiums in the country. But it is a big tradition over there. It's kind of fun. And they cost like
Hey, Steve, is Rudy in that picture?
no,
Christine's?
but Christine is in that picture, Rudy's wife. That's not, so no, the tall gentleman in the back is a friend of mine, actually. That's Peter. That's one of our cruise directors.
But Rudy isn't Santa.
No, he's not. No. And I'm not going to tell him you said that either.
Okay, okay.
No,
He's Christine's husband and co-owner.
Two of the owners, yes. And the lady next to Christine is one of my colleagues. She's from South Africa. Very nice lady. So, and then to go back to the original theme about traveling with family, please know that we have newer ships and we design the ships a certain way. And we do have a certain amount of staterooms that have can handle triples and can take quads even. And we have connecting staterooms if you're traveling with maybe young adults and you wanted to have a connecting stateroom with them, something like that. So that's important to note. It is a time of year where the demographic changes somewhat and you see much more family travelers on the ships. Now let's look at the Rhine River. And so again, I don't have a map here. Maps on a virtual presentation are sort of superfluous. They're hard to read on a virtual presentation, but give you an idea. When we say the Rhine River, you'd fly into Amsterdam in the Netherlands and sail south on the Rhine all the way down to Basel, Switzerland. So you would go through the Netherlands and then Germany and France. You'd be on a stretch of the Rhine River where on the right bank is France and on the left bank is Germany. And this is one of the reasons I love the Rhine, because in the morning you can be in Germany, and in the afternoon, you can do an excursion in France. Or there are days where you can make a decision. You can, half of the ship will take an excursion in Germany, and the other half of the ship takes their excursion in France. And when we get back on the ship, let's say for lunch or for dinner, everyone has a different story to tell. And I think this is very important because it just adds to the whole energy of the ship, of the passengers. There are many of our competitors. You go on a ship, there's 200 passengers on the ship, and everyone does the same tour. 5 different tours every day. Everybody comes back and has a slightly different story to tell, or a completely different story to tell. And I just love that about the Rhine River. And you'd end up in Switzerland here, by the way. So if you start north to south, we start off in Amsterdam. It is a wonderful city for many reasons. Historically, the fact that it's a canal city, the fact that people live on houseboats, the fact that so many great art institutions are here, so many great botanical gardens are here, the architecture, the food, the pubs. There's so many neat things about Amsterdam. I won't go into all of them. Basically, at Christmas time, though, what they do to celebrate Christmas is they have these festival of lights, and it's a high-tech light show. In 2019, they did a light show that featured all of Van Gogh's works, like 3D, three-dimensional, really high-tech stuff. And I mean, look it up, Google it, and you'll see some really, really creative and thoughtful light images of some of Van Gogh's most famous works. I thought that was really cool. And you'd see that from the water. We put you on these smaller, you can see it in front of you there. These canal boats would take about 15, 20 passengers, and you'd be with one of our guys and you'd go, you pretty much see the whole city that way. So Amsterdam is a great place to visit. Cologne, Germany. This is a great walking tour this day. We'll dock right in the center of the city. It takes about 8 minutes to walk to this square here in the city. This is the famous cathedral, the back end of that photograph at Cologne. That was, they started building in 12, I think 1270, and they didn't complete it till like 1890. And they had a lot of, budgetary shortfalls, I think, over over the 6 centuries. And actually what they do is that they left, there's some type of tradition there that if they ever complete um, the cathedral, it would bring bad luck upon the city. So they've left the second steeple unfinished, and they're not going to finish that. I don't know where that myth or tradition started, but they take it pretty seriously. So, but it's a visit. And again, I'm taken by the fact that many times in my career, I have sat in an outdoor cafe here and just watched people go by drinking some wine and eating some local fare. And then at Christmas market time, the whole place just fills up with these stalls, you can see. So just a wonderful visit here. There's a lot of other things we do, but besides the Christmas market here, behind that cathedral is just an old and very popular, regionally popular beer garden. That's part of one of our walking tours. And we take you in there and you sit in these benches with the locals and drink some of their local regional beer and with some food, usually with potato pancakes. And I'm trying to, a Kolsch is the beer. That's the regional beer that they're proud of. Their Kolsch beer. They win a lot of awards for that. So I love that beer garden. It's part of the excursion. If you're doing the walking tour, sign up for the beer garden excursion. And then from there, you can go over to the Christmas markets.
Hey, Steve, Diane has one of the mugs she was going to show.
I believe she showed on, she can save it for when we go to, we'll stop sharing our screen, Diane, and you show us your Glühwein mug. Yes, I do recall her having some stuff. She's a river cruise person, so she's brought some groups on some of our programs, and she's well traveled in Europe, and she gets the whole Christmas market theme. She's really she's up on the Christmas market. So absolutely, we'll look at that mug in a little bit. And then this is Heidelberg, Germany, a storied small town known for the castle there, just behind the main part of the town. Again, a smaller Christmas market, this is a really pretty excursion. We don't spend the whole day here. It's just a really pretty town, little like fairy tale houses. You can see some of the houses in the background there. I love how every building is kind of pressed together like gingerbread houses, different colors. Just a really nice visit, great walking town. Strasbourg, this is my favorite place on this itinerary. Strasbourg, France is another canal city, nooks and crannies everywhere. You'll see some wooden drawbridges that are still hand cranked. Like there's a guy there that if someone is going under the bridge on a boat, they'll stop everybody on both sides, and this guy cranks this thing, and the thing goes up a little bit like this, and it goes back centuries. I just love it. The food here is great. You can, again, with the half timbered homes and all the different colors, it's just brilliant. And what they do at Christmas time is really nice. And just beyond this square here is a popular square where there's like a children's park and there's a merry-go-round, and it's just it's like something out of a storybook. This is a really, really neat city. And also known, this area, the Alsatian region, is known for their white wines. So you get some really good wines here year round in this area. And then we would end here in Basel, Switzerland. Just a really beautiful city. Everything in Switzerland is beautiful and clean and operates on time to the second. And they have some really nice Christmas markets in Basel as well. And this is where we would end this particular itinerary. And then a couple of more insider tips here. I think when I mentioned the Glühwein mugs, you can for an extra euro usually deposit, you can bring them home. That's what Diane is going to show us. And when you travel, we talked about the weather before. So, we're we're New Englanders. We know how to travel in cold weather. So you're going to bring some hats, you'll bring some scarves, you'll bring some gloves, and then you'll decide on how much you want to wear each day and dress in layers and so on and so forth. And always a good idea to bring extra luggage. Bring something that's, flexible, expandable, that you could pack in a suitcase. And then as you maybe collect things, you're buying clothing, you're buying what have you, you can put into, a smaller, flexible carry-on bag to bring stuff home. You don't want to have to ship stuff home if you can avoid that, right? So just another tip there.
And who is that again? That was Gary?
Yes, this is a good call. This is my boss, Gary Murphy. And that's his lovely wife, Daphne. Very good, Nancy. I'm very, and Nancy,
I remember his father.
I was just going to say, many years ago, I brought Jimmy Murphy up to see you in Portland when you were working in an office in Portland, Maine. And this is like 2005 or 2006. I don't remember the year, but I remember sitting with you and Jimmy Murphy, his dad, who's no longer with us, unfortunately. But
well, I just happened to have that was an Irish tour company, and I just happened to have the brochure on my desk, and I had looked at it, and his picture's on the inside cover of the brochure, and he was wearing the same tie in the picture that he had on that day.
I know.
Couldn't believe it.
Of course, you had to mention that to him too. I remember. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think you were probably more embarrassed than anybody.
He had a beautiful gray suit on with this yellow tie, and you said, "Hey, that's the same tie you have on in this very dated photo." No, I'm just kidding. You didn't say that, but I do remember that, and that's about 15 years ago now. So just so very good memory. And then, so you understand, it's not just one itinerary that you have to choose from. We just showed a sampling. We showed one itinerary on the Danube and the stops there, and some of the stops there, not all of them. And we showed one itinerary on the Rhine River. But we want you to know that we have 4 itineraries on the Danube, which means we have 4 different ships doing the Danube, stopping at different places along the Danube. Same concept, though, same theme. And then also these work as 7-night cruises. But many people, when they go to Europe, would like to spend more time than 7 nights in Europe. So you have the option. These are optional. Pre and post, you'd speak to your travel advisor, Nancy. Hey, I might want to stay 10 days. You can book on the Danube. You can book 3 nights in Prague before or after the cruise. You can book 2 nights. You can come into Budapest early, 2 nights. Or you can do Munich. And I've done all of these cities. My feeling is, if you're going to be here once and maybe not come back anytime soon, do Prague. It's so unique. It's such a unique city, such an interesting city, and it's not on the river. So you're not going to see it unless you do it as a pre or a post, right? So we're Budapest. We do spend time in Budapest. Munich is a lovely city, but Prague is the number 1 of these 3 here. And then on the Rhine River, we've got a couple of different itineraries. We've got Christmas markets on the Rhine castles, and the Swiss Alps. That particular itinerary does the Rhine, and then we take you to Lake Como in northern Italy as the post stay. That's very unique. And then we have an itinerary with the Rhine and Moselle delights. The Moselle River is a strictly German river. It's an offshoot of the Rhine. It's a smaller river. I love it. I absolutely love it. It's where all the Germans would vacation, or where the Germans have summer or winter homes. They have cabins and cottages dotted all along the river. It's not a very wide river. You can swim side to side in the summertime. You can see all the Germans out there fishing in the summertime. It's a really, really neat river. So combining the Rhine and the Moselle is a wonderful idea. And then the pre and post ideas, concepts for these itineraries. We mentioned Amsterdam. You could come in early and spend extra time in Amsterdam. You can never see too much of Amsterdam. On the back end, when we finish down in Basel, Switzerland, the natural places to go to would be Lucerne or Zurich in Switzerland. Beautiful cities in Switzerland. Now you're in the Swiss Alps. And then we mentioned Lake Como in northern Italy. So some really nice pre and post ideas, suggestions, optionals that you can do. And this is why you'd work with somebody like Nancy, because if you're not sure and you have some ideas, you want to talk about different ways to do this, she can do these, or she can put together something on her own. If we're not offering something that that interests you, she can find something else as well. This is why you work with a traveler.
Like skiing.
Like skiing, yes. Yes, exactly. And then again, so you understand, there's two things here that work for us for this season. It's a 6-week season. It's great for families. It's great for people to get together between our Thanksgiving and Christmas. And maybe if your families are not all in the same place. I have a customer. He's up in Vermont. He's got businesses in Vermont and New Hampshire. He's also a travel advisor. Every other year, his family's all over the country. He gets everybody together on one of our ships. So in 2019, in late November, he took 12 cabins and all of the, his adult children and cousins and aunts and uncles, they all got together on the Rhine. They had done the Danube a few years before, and they saved a lot of money because it's off season, and then there's always some type of incentive because it's the end of the season. In this case, you're looking at something that's going on currently for next year and the year after, $1,000 off per person. And then it's an upgrade on the stateroom, and then there's onboard credit as well. So this is typical of what you'd see. And again, this is what you work with someone like Nancy for, is you'd say, I'm looking at this particular, I'd rather do the Rhine. I want to do this time of year. She'll find you a week or a sailing where we have we have a holiday with the triple special we have here, the triple offer. And that makes everybody feel better. You get some good value here, and you're traveling with family or friends, and you're just seeing how they celebrate in the old country, as my grandmother Bajaka used to say.
Right, because at the moment we don't know when we'll be able to go, but there's a couple of ways to look at it. You can, if you are restricted to certain or to planning ahead because of your vacation time, which I know a couple of the people have that, they have to book their vacation time far ahead. You could just let me know and I can check and see what weeks have the best promotion going. And on the other hand, when we know that we can go, Steve and I are already working on setting up some group departure dates.
Right.
When I will go. So, but there's a lot of other options besides the group departure dates that I'm considering. So every week, how many departures are there normally every week? I mean, with Amma, there's going to be.
Right. So for the Christmas markets, we have 7 different itineraries, 3 on the Rhine and 4 on the Danube for over 6 weeks.
Right.
And some of them sell out right away and some of them don't. So there's a lot of options. And the other thing I want everybody to understand is that in the river cruise business, we work on a 2-year calendar. So we already have our 2022 schedule open. It's been open since last spring. And actually this month, in the month of December, now currently, we will open up our 2023 calendar. So you'll have, so you'll be able to look for, it's a very forward thinking business where a small deposit holds your stateroom for, up to 2 years, right? And then it's not till I think it's 90 days out that the final payment will be due. So we're not making a pitch to you tonight. We're just telling you this is how it works, and you'd book it through Nancy, and she'll help you find what you want to do, when you want to do it, when you're comfortable doing it, so on and so forth. But you have a very long window to look there, and you've got a lot of dates and a lot of itineraries on the calendar, 21, 22, and soon you can look at 2023. So this is I believe the last slide of our presentation here, and I did throw an extra one in there of Nancy. That looks like well, you tell me who's in the lower left there. That's your whole family pretty much, yes?
Yeah, that is my mother and father, my sisters, and all the extensions there in Tennessee, probably in 2012 or 2013.
Very good. Okay. So I will stop sharing my screen now, and we can, if we can open up and we can see, where's my friend Diane? And Diane can, oh, there she is under Nancy. I see you, Diane. Oh, okay. I thought we had a ringer when I let in a second Nancy Dorans, but okay, it's friend, not foe. That's good. Hi, Diane.
Hi there.
Let's see your mug there, Diane. Voila. Is it porcelain? Just regular?
Yes, it is. It's from Vienna
Nice.
last year.
Good job.
Nice. So Diane and I know each other because we both used to work for AAA, and she is a travel advisor in Bangor, Maine. And
That's where I met both of you many, many years ago.
Yes, that's correct.
Part of the same club. Yeah. Back in
About 30 years ago. Mhm.
No, not that long. It wasn't that
Okay, well,
long. So,
does anybody have any questions? I think all your mics are open, or can be.
yeah, you can unmute yourself and just raise a hand or ask a question.
I came on late and I just want to know, what's the name of this company?
Oh, AMA Waterways. You can see it over my shoulder here. AMA Waterways, AMA Waterways.
Oh. Okay. Hello. I don't know, my picture's not on, but
That's okay. Thanks for joining in. We appreciate it. Bruce, how's the family?
We're all good. I expect we'll be doing a Zoom call Christmas or around Christmas. It's the usual.
Yeah.
That's it. So not everybody here knows everybody, but most people know at least one or two other people on the call, I think.
Nancy, is your dad there somewhere?
That's my dad and Susan Holton. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, there we are. Okay.
Hey, who's talking?
Me, Kathy. I
Oh,
heard you sing.
she's talking to you.
Yeah. Good. Doing good here. What?
And Bruce is Tom and Boat's brother.
Right,
Correct.
I remember that, Bruce.
Right. I met you in Portland.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right after Nancy
Couple
bought
years
a
ago.
condo.
Yep.
hey, Carl.
Question. I think Stephen and Nancy know that I've been in on all three of the presentations, and it's all overwhelming to sort of take it all in. Every one of them is attractive in its own way, and you do a really good job, Stephen, of highlighting everything and
Thank you,
making
Carl.
all the pastry sound so good, and all the beer and the wine and all the sights. But I guess the only point I want to make is, so I feel enthusiastic about all of it. There's a weaning process that has to go on here. You have to sort of decide at some point which of the many choices, and as you said, within the choices, there are still more choices.
Right.
So there's a lot to choose from. It's all very attractive.
So you make really good points, Carl.
Yeah.
I would say to you that if you look at our website, we break the cruises down by region. So you can look at our French itineraries, you can look at our Rhine itineraries, our Danube itineraries. We have itineraries on the Douro River in Portugal. And I guess you have to look and think, where do I want to begin? What are my interests?
Some of her photos.
What time of year do I want to do this? Usually for us, I don't want to put somebody in and just make a generalization, but typically people would start with the Danube or the Rhine rivers because the stops there are stops that I think people in North America, they would resonate. We've heard of Vienna, we've heard of Budapest, we're familiar with Amsterdam, we know these places. But I don't want to limit you to that. If you think you want to do something in France and taste a lot of wine and cheese on the Rhone River or the Seine River or something like that, you know what I'm saying? So, but the concept, it's important to know that what we're trying, we don't know what you want to do either. That's why we do a series of these. Diane, who's on,
Right.
I've done a couple with Diane. We did Egypt, we did Christmas markets,
Right.
and some other ones, right, Diane? So
Yes, and you know, and just to let you know, Carl, we did a group last year and we did the Christmas markets. It was phenomenal. Just this week, I have heard from 3 out of the 8 couples that went, and they're all planning on going again, doing different itineraries. So it was kind of like a get together just because it was a year ago that we went. And one couple is planning on France this next time. Another couple is planning on, well, they're undecided. They're thinking about Holland. They're also thinking about the lower Danube. And the other couple is just, they're open to what everybody else wants to do. The bottom line is that they've all enjoyed the concept, which is basically just enjoying rolling down the river and waking up in the same bed. However, you're exploring a different town and a different Christmas market, different museums, eating different food all the time for a week. And then, of course, you know, like Stephen said, you know, going into a city for a couple of days before, for example, Budapest for 2 nights, ending up in Prague for 3 nights. And then depending upon what river you do, Amsterdam, Lucerne, Zurich, there are so many different options. It's just, you know, what gets you excited? You know, what type of vacation are you looking for? You looking to do this in the cold? You looking to do this in warm weather? So it's just, there's so many different options.
Yes, I understand that. You know, I've never had any interest in ocean cruises.
Yes, totally different.
Ocean cruises to me seem like you are imprisoned in a large ship for a week or 10 days, and mostly you eat, which isn't a bad thing, by the way, but mostly you eat. Where here, this attracts me because it's really a great way to see whichever river you choose.
Exactly.
To see a number of the historic European towns, and use the boat as a sort of the floating hotel.
Floating resort, yes.
Yeah, so it's
where the
very
service
attractive.
is phenomenal and the food is amazing.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Ann has a question. Ann, you're muted. You have to unmute yourself.
It's okay. We can't hear you, Ann.
He's trying to unmute, I think. There you go.
I don't know how to do this.
Okay, we can hear you now.
Oh, okay. No, I'm interested. I've been on one river cruise, and that was last year to Germany, on the Grand Circle. Now I don't go. I found 4 people that I knew, that one of which I knew, and then I had 4 others, and we all went. And so I did the whole of Amsterdam, and we ended up in Vienna. So it really was an enjoyable experience, but I'm really interested in going on something that Nancy's on, because as a solo traveler, I'm not too fond of doing that right now, because I've only done it once.
Well, that's a great point, Ann. And I think everyone.
I mean, she's my mother.
Help out Nancy. Nancy's to host something like that's what Diane does. She's a host too. She's a groupie. So, but you have, if everyone comes back there and says, thinking about this, we're interested in this, let's see France next. This is what I do for a living. I'm trying to help you make the decision. It's a fun process. There are worse things in the world, Carl, to do than to try to figure out whether France is better than Portugal,
Yes,
Germany.
yes,
Yes.
yes,
Going up.
absolutely,
Heavy lifting, right, Carl?
absolutely, yes.
Yeah. It's good to have, it's good to have somebody that you know to go with, although we all function
Absolutely.
independently. And another thing I was going to ask you is about single staterooms. I mean, I know some of the tour, the Grand Circle, which is the only one I went on because these were the ladies that had done repeated tours with them. They've been all over the place. And they have single, there's no upgrade for the single, which is what we all enjoyed, having our own state.
Program. We have something called the Solo Traveler Program.
Yeah.
Promo. And you let Nancy know that you're interested in that program, and we allow, I think everything except the suites. We have special where there's still a supplement, but it's a very small supplement. Okay.
Yeah, that's good because at the end of the day, I don't want to be with anybody.
It's hard to do if it's twice the cost or 80% more or something like that.
Yeah.
So we have a program
Right.
that Nancy can look through the inventory and find that with the stateroom that would give you the best deal traveling as a solo
Okay,
traveler.
very good. Well, that was my input right there.
Good job.
And Carl,
Yes,
I will say that Steve and I have looked ahead to not to sway you either way, but because of Florian in Amsterdam is in 2022.
yes, yes.
The tulip time, I think it's the 18th or 19th of April. Steve, certainly coincides, I checked it out, coincides with Patriots Week, which might be good for educators, if that's the only week they have off in April. But that's looking way ahead to third week in April with an extension to do that special.
And that's what we're looking for. It's food for thought. So we've already started. We're anticipating your question. We're looking at dates. We're looking at pricing. We're looking at availability. But it's up to you. And I do agree with that, what Ann said, especially coming out of a pandemic. We're finding that our group business has taken off because people are like Ann. They want to travel with other people they know, right?
Mhm.
We're finding that our individual travel is not that robust right now for good reasons. But our group business has really taken off with people like Nancy, with people like Diane. Diane's got some group space with us next year as well. So, and then we all look at it together and people feel better. Oh, well, I know 3 of Nancy's clients and I've known Nancy for 10 years. I want to travel with them. So that's the general idea, but it's up to you guys, you folks, where you want to travel. And then if you get back to Nancy in the next couple of days and say, hey, I could do France or the Netherlands. It doesn't matter to me. Or I could do this or that. Or I'm more interested. Can you present next time on France? And let me get a look at France. We can do that.
Love to see France.
Right?
France, that's what I'd love. Yeah.
So I
Or
think,
Italy.
well, we don't, well, unfortunately, there's not a navigable river in Italy with enough water to make up for a 7-night cruise. The Po River only allows for about 3 days of sailing, unfortunately.
The Romans didn't do it right. They should have done a little more digging, I think, back in the day.
Maybe they didn't want it was going to change 2,000 years later. I don't know. But it is a great destination. I've been many times, but in the last 10 or 15 years, there's not a lot of sailing to do. So
The other thing is, this series has been on the third Tuesday of every month, and but not only specifically or exclusively with AMA Waterways, although Steve's been very, very helpful in helping me jump over a lot of hurdles to figure out how this works best. And So keep your eye on your email because in January, Elaine may know, I think I already told her, but the guide we had when we were in South Africa is doing a presentation on Southern Africa, Malawi and South Africa. And that's in January. And then in February, I believe it's an Ireland tour operator. And then there's another, well, Elaine had a whole 3.5-week trip organized that I helped her with to Patagonia in March, this past March, and she flew out on the 14th of March and flew home on the 17th of March. So she didn't get to experience her Patagonia trip. So that tour operator is also interested in sharing with us some of the Patagonia region. So I'm willing to do these more often, and I'm looking to you folks too to let me know what is the most interest for you. Now, Carl, I know you already have enough to choose from, which is the 3 that we've already.
Actually, I haven't. You know, I mean, Patagonia interests me. My daughter goes down there twice a year. She's a penguin researcher. And there's a very well-known Magellanic penguin colony down there in southern Argentina. And I've always fantasized about going and seeing it, or at least getting in the area. So my desire is insatiable.
Yes.
My bank account is limited.
Yes, understood. Totally get it. Yeah, wannabe world travelers. We're all similar. We all want to go everywhere. But that's great.
True, very true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hard to pick.
Okay. Any other questions then?
Well, I just want to wish everybody a very merry, happy, jolly holiday.
Buona
Thank you.
Natale, Buona Natale, as they say in Italy.
Buon Natale.
I'm going to say that someday in Rome.
Feliz Navidad.
Really,
Feliz
yeah.
Natal in Portuguese. Feliz Natal.
You too. Wow.
Well, we thank you all for showing up. That's great.
Well, thank you. Thank you. You gave us some
Thank you,
wonderful things.
Diane. Good input too as well. Thank you, Diane.
Thank you.
Well,
Thanks, Diane.
Bye.
Good night.
bye, everybody.
Night.
Bye.
Night. God bless.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Nice to see everyone.
Bye now.
Bye, Jean.
Yeah, good to see you. Thanks a lot.
Happy holidays.
Thank you. You too.
How's it going in Duluth? How about you?
Oh,